gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Box to Box. Yes, it is Arsenal versus Wolves on Saturday night at 8 o'clock underneath the lights at the Emirates. Dave has kindly come along to let everyone know what is going on at Wolves at the moment. So, Wolverhampton Wanderers, they play at Molineux Stadium with a capacity of 32,050 fans. Founded in 1877, 148 years ago. Currently in the Premier League, ready to take on the Arsenal. So, thank you very much for coming along.
No, thank you for having me, mate. Yeah, it's I normally say I'm looking forward to it, but with how we've started this season, I don't think I am. I thought it was a 3 o'clock kickoff on Saturday, and then someone informed me a couple of days ago it was an evening kickoff, which I don't know if it's better that I'm sort of delaying the inevitable or I just want to get it over and done with. But nonetheless, I'm sure it'll be great to chat anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Look, and it's going to be, listen, Premier League football. This is about us getting to know you guys, what's going on at your club, and there's some really interesting stuff at the moment. Obviously, you've had a manager, new manager come in, an old one go out, and there's some protests and stuff like that. We're going to get into that stuff. So first and foremost, just sort of summarise, how are you guys doing at the moment? You're bottom of the Premier League. I believe you've got 2 points. What's the situation at the club and the general feeling with everything?
Yeah, not great, as you would imagine for any Premier League club when they're sat winless after this amount of time and sat on just 2 points as well. I think you can sort of accept it a little bit if you were a newly promoted team, a team that hadn't been in the Premier League for a while. But look, Wolves are an established Premier League club. We've been in this division sort of 8 or 9 years, and the fact that we're so far behind the other 19 teams so far this season is a massive concern. Fans are really not happy with what's going on. The quality of football that we're seeing isn't really giving us much encouragement at the moment. Under Rob Edwards, since he came in, who I'm sure we'll talk about, we've seen a tiny bit of improvement. But the last 2 fixtures, both at home against Nottingham Forest and then on Monday night against Manchester United, they were just atrocious in terms of the quality of performance. So I think probably 99% of Wolves fans now are resigned to the fact that we're going to be relegated. It's just now, how much pride can we restore between now and the end of the campaign? I mean, it would take a massive turnaround for us to stay in the league, but for me now, it's just making sure we don't break Derby's record of being the worst Premier League team, which is quite depressing, the fact that between now and May, that I'm hoping for that to happen.
Yes, you say winless, and obviously 2 points, which is, I would imagine, very concerning. And obviously, I want to go straight into it, actually, the Rob Edwards situation, because for me, I've been quite happy at Middlesbrough. Yeah. And from his point of view, I couldn't understand why he went from Middlesbrough to Wolves to then play, listen, realistically at the time, probably, if I'm honest, 6 months of Premier League football. Because of Wolves' run of results and run of form. And let's just go through the last few games. You got beaten 3-0 by Chelsea, 2-0 by Crystal Palace, 1-0 by Villa, 1-0 by Forest, and then 4-1 by Manchester United. So you're shipping a lot of goals. And obviously he's made that move over to essentially, it's like, for me, if he's going to get, sort of 6 months of Premier League football sort of limelight, to then take Wolves back into into the Championship, it seems quite, bizarre, the whole, why he jumped ship from Middlesbrough to Wolves.
Yeah, it was funny because, I mean, the whole situation really surrounds it because Rob was a former Wolves player, just under 20 years ago. He started his coaching career at Wolves, through the academy up into the 21s boss. Right. And at the time sort of won whichever division it would have been at the time with the under 21s. And then obviously went on to excel in his coaching career, let's say, in such a short period of time. He went from managing in the National League up into the Championship, and obviously it ended up in the Premier League with Luton Town as well. So I think his progression has been quite impressive as a manager, but of course, he was doing quite well with Middlesbrough, and it was something that was taking a lot of the headlines a few weeks ago when he decided that he wanted to join Wolves. His family is still quite close by in Telford, which isn't too far away from Wolverhampton. So, from a personal point of view, in terms of wages and things like that, of course, that would have improved for him. But it was funny because last week he said he didn't regret it, and I think Middlesbrough. I mean, they've been getting a couple of decent wins recently under their new manager. I think they're looking quite comfortable in the promotion race in
Yeah.
the Championship. So there is a chance that we're going to be swapping divisions with them next season. So I really, really hope. I think we all accept now we're probably going to go down. I think what Rob is probably hoping is that next season we can give it. Well, I'd hope that we can bounce straight back up, and maybe there's Wolves long term. The ceiling might be higher than Middlesbrough, without me being disrespectful to them.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting. It's going to be a long process, and really, for Rob's sake, he's got to hope that he can keep fans on side up until May to keep his job. Because if the results and the performances carry on the way they're going, and I don't think I don't give Rob much stick for that, because I think he's inherited a really poor squad. But say, for argument's sake, you get past January, he's had a transfer window and results and performances continue the way they are, he might not even be Wolves head coach come May. So massive risk for his career. Obviously, as a Wolves fan, I hope it pays off long term. But at the moment, it hasn't started off brilliantly.
That's exactly what I mean, and I don't say that disrespectfully, like, why would you go to Wolves? I get it, but he was doing well with Middlesbrough and looking to get maybe promoted into the Premier League with Middlesbrough. And then listen, if you have a good 6 months, then you never know what doors may open up, whether or not that might be his. But it could look like you said, he go to Wolves and then he might be without a job in three months' time. Like you said, with a transfer window, I thought at that time, to where it's not like Wolves were, I suppose, sort of in and around it. I mean, you've got 2 points after this amount of games, 15 games in. It's worrying times. Also, having lost, and let's go into this, obviously, Kuna, who's probably one of your best players in the summer, to Manchester United, who unfortunately for you guys came to haunt you the other night a bit, which is obviously, it's never going to be nice to see. Let's talk about your incomings and outgoings over the summer, and what you think of obviously your new players and and obviously the players that have gone.
Yeah, I think the outgoings was always big. I think for clubs outside of the top six, especially with PSR now, we've seen it. You're going to have to lose big players, but you can sort of accept that as long as you know you're going to be replacing them with decent quality. And unfortunately, at Wolves, over the last few years, we just haven't seen that enough. Of course, we lost Cunha, we lost Ryan Aït-Nouri to Manchester City early on in the window. Nelson Semedo, who was our captain last season, his contract had expired, and although we offered him a new deal, it took him a long, long time to decide what he wanted to do. So, we were left in a pretty poor position. The frustrating thing about the summer window for us was that Cunha and Aït-Nouri went very, very early. I'm talking even before the Club World Cup started. So, that's pretty early on in the summer. It really took Wolves until the latter stages of the window to make any significant transfers. So already you lose a chunk, if not most, of pre-season, and you're going into the brand new season with a squad that aren't ready and aren't prepared. So I think that probably has something to do a little bit with Wolves' form. But now you'd hope by now players would have settled in or got sharp, match sharp or match fit. And it's just not the case. The quality of these players that we've signed are just nowhere near good enough. One player that we were a little bit excited about was Jean Arias. He ended up in the team of the tournament at the Club World Championship for Fluminense, and he's been really, really poor. And I don't know if it's just an adjusting period for him coming from South America to the Premier League, but it just looks miles off it. And just most of the other players, just there's no quality there, nothing to get me or any other Wolves fan excited at the moment. So I'll be very intrigued in January. Even I would say our better players, Jorgen Strand Larsen is obviously a key one people tend to talk about. He's been miles off it as well. So come January, it'll be very interesting to see how Wolves navigate that window. Are they going to sell some of the star assets to try and get as much money in as they can? Or are they going to sort of back them and hope they stay until the summer, and maybe hope if they stay for the Championship and beyond?
Yeah, so also another part that I want to get into, I think it's very prevalent to what's going on at Wolves. There was a protest, obviously, against the Manchester United game. Can you just explain to everyone sort of how that came about, what that's about, why it happened, and who it's directed toward? In its entirety. Just let everyone know the full story, because I think it's quite an interesting situation. One thing I'll just quickly say, I noticed at the game when I watched the game, and there were a few fans in the crowd with their backs to the game and stuff like that, as you do. If you could you let everyone know?
So it's 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 been coming for a while, so I think a lot of fans have been very unhappy with how the board and the chairman have been operating. You know, the club are owned by an investment group called Fosun, who are based in Shanghai in China. Our chairman is a guy called Jeff Shee, who's obviously part of the Fosun group, but he is based in Wolverhampton. And I'd probably say at least 12 months, probably 12 to 18 months, has been real pressure on them. Really, I'd probably say since Lopetegui walked out, I think it rang a lot of alarm bells, thinking, why is such a high-profile manager walking out on this club on the eve of a brand new season? And, you know, they got Gary O'Neill in, and his first season, he was pretty decent and, you know, kept the club in a decent position. However, he wasn't backed in the January, and the form fell off a cliff. Started a new season with Gary, and he really struggled. And then obviously we brought Vitor Pereira in. But I remember in Vitor Pereira's first game, there was a new chant. We went to Leicester at the King Power and we won, but there was a chant about the chairman saying, you know, he doesn't care about the club and things like that. And that really from there on it was what I sort of remember. And going in, obviously, Vitor Pereira kept us up, and then we saw how badly the summer was and how badly we started off this season. And fans are like, you know, we're making some noise, but what is going on? Because these people really obviously don't care about this football team, and we're a chance back the team or sell the club. You've sold the team, now sell the club, you know, things like that, because we are losing big players. So we have a lot of pressure. I mean, AFTV probably had it yourself. You know, us as fan channels, we get a lot of pressure from fans saying, well, why can't you use your voice to start something off? And it's very, very hard. I'm not a violent person. I don't really like confrontation. So it's hard for me to, you know, kick up a fuss. But there's quite a lot of really good fan channels and podcasts, and we all get on very well together. And we sort of came together for some ideas. And in the end, it was one of the fan-led initiatives called the Old Goal Pack, who said, look, let's just stay out of the ground for the first 15 minutes of the game. And see how it goes. And there was another little demonstration before the game with fans around the main stand, but Sky Sports on Monday really picked up on the 15-minute one. And for something that was so easy to do, let's say, I think it had such a big impact because it was talked about worldwide on all the news outlets Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week. So I think it works, and I think the pressure will just continue to be put on the owners. But in terms of who it's actually aimed at, I think everybody has got different reasons for why they're protesting. Is it bad recruitment? Is it directed just at the chairman? Is it at the owners because you want them to sell the club? There's so many reasons why Wolves fans are upset at the moment, which is alarming, really, and that's why we're doing what we're doing at the moment.
Wow. The power of fan channels letting the club know exactly what they think of them. Yeah, I've seen it, and I've seen it many times. So interesting stuff. So let's go through your team selection. This part where the viewers get to know how you set your team out in what formation. And the personnel from front to back, goalkeeper, you know, right back, centre backs, etc., midfielders, names, and a bit about them.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if Rob Edwards does shake things up after Monday. In terms of his 11, he's been fairly consistent since he came in, but I think Monday will possibly be a little bit of a wake-up call for him. He has favoured Sam Johnston in goal over Jose Sarr at the moment. I expect him to continue with that for now, so I'd assume Sam Johnston will start in goal. He's been playing with a back five. Left wing back, it's a guy called David Muller-Wolfer. Good name, I suppose, for joining Wolves. But it's been between him and one of a young Spanish lad that we've had called Hugo Bueno. But Muller-Wolfer seems to be getting the nod at the moment. Back three has been Totti Gomez at left centre back, who has been our captain. Emmanuel Agbadou in there as well, alongside Mosquera, who some of your fans may remember. He was the one that grabbed Jesus' backside last season. Wing back, we did start Keanu Hoover, former Liverpool lad, last game. We have got a Cameroonian right wing back, Jackson Chichua, who has clocked the fastest speed so far this season, but just for whatever reason doesn't want to use his pace whenever he's on the ball. So a little bit of a frustrating player to have, but he may come back in. The midfield two, I think, will be João Gomez and Andre. João Gomez missed Monday's game against United with suspension. I think he'll come back in. He was a miss on Monday. Andre in there as well. And then he has been playing like a front three, sort of two number 10/wide players with a striker. So Strand Larsen has been the striker, although he got sarcastically cheered as he got subbed off on Monday. So it'll be interesting to see if he starts. And then the two behind him has been John Arias, who I mentioned earlier on, who's been a little bit underwhelming, and Jean-Ric Bellegarde, who has been good the last couple of games, but came off injured against Manchester United. So in terms of a starting 11, it may be close to that. But again, a lot of it is up in the air, really, because Rob Edwards may well give it a big shake-up before our visit to the Emirates on Saturday.
And what's your subs bench look like?
Again, there's the concern for me is here, and you'll probably listen to that 11 that I've just said, and probably only off the top of your head, maybe only know 3 or 4 of those players. Whereas back under Nuno, you could probably name me the Wolves 1 to 11. We were that prominent back then in the Premier League. In terms of subs bench, like I say, you got Jose Sarr as a backup goalkeeper, maybe as a backup striker. We've got Nigerian forward Tolu Arokodare, big 6'6" player, top scorer in Belgium last year, but again, not really had many minutes and not had huge chances as of yet under Rob Edwards. One player that may come on, who's one to watch, is a young lad, Mateus Mane. He's only 18 years of age, sort of Portuguese and English descent. He has been playing for the English youth teams, but he's come off the bench the last 3 games. So I think he's one of those players that Wolves are trying to keep on side. So if we go down, obviously he sticks around and maybe can kick on next year if we're playing in a lower division. But other than that, there's not huge amounts of quality for me to shout about on the bench, to be honest.
So you spoke about Jose Sarr. For me, Jose Sarr's he's a decent goalkeeper. What is going on there, and how comes he's now? And also, just quickly, I did see a video of him where he confronted some of the Wolves fans at some point. If you could just enlighten us on that.
Yeah,
as well.
so that was after the Burnley game. Again, he was on the bench for that game actually, but we'd lost 3-2 to Burnley. We went 2-0 down. We got it back to 2-2. And this was quite a crucial game for Vitor Pereira as well, because I think he really lost the fans after this game. Burnley were playing for a draw. I remember in the 92nd, 93rd minute, they were just knocking the ball around, and then all of a sudden they got an opening and put the ball in the back of the net. And Molineux erupted. Vitor Pereira approached some fans and started pounding his chest, saying, "Look, this is the fight that we need." Jurgen Strand Larsen approached some of the fans. And then after the game, as he was leaving, Jose Sarr, there was some fans waiting around, and he got out of his car. And when I watched the video, it was actually a decent sort of interaction. I think, he was trying to explain the players' point of view, and the fans were trying to give theirs, And for him, it's strange. I used to really like Jose Sarr. The first year he came to Wolves, he was phenomenal. Really been inconsistent since then. He was out of the picture before Vitor Pereira. Then Vitor Pereira really put him in the back as a number 1. But this season, if you look, I think his save percentage is the worst out of any goalkeeper. He conceded something like 11 goals from 14 shots or something ridiculous like that. He had a really, really poor start to the season. So Sam Johnston's come back in his place, and it wouldn't surprise me to see Jose Sarr sold this winter anyway.
Wow. Okay, so what do you think of Arsenal?
Do I carry on the chant or not? No, sorry. No, I'm joking. Solid. I think, a lot of people will be talking about, is this the year for Arsenal? I think if...
Right, cut that. Sorry.
Right. I'll go again if you want. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Right, that's gone. Right, so what do you think of Arsenal?
Yeah, I think in terms of the title race, I think you're in a really comfortable position at the moment. You look at, I think the Villa game will be frustrating for you guys last week. I didn't watch the game in its entirety, but I saw the goals. I think you would have been in a fantastic position if you got 3 points from that sort of game. But I think you're in a good position. But at the moment, the league is so unpredictable. I think other than Wolves, anyone is beating anyone at the moment. But I think Arsenal's defensive record, especially when you get certain players back to fitness and back in the match squad, I think you'll be absolutely fine. I'll be intrigued to see how Wolves approach tomorrow's game because of how well, Arsenal all over the pitch have got quality. I've heard Wolves fans, as is normally the case when a team is in this position, talking about a huge defeat, and I'm talking 5-6 plus goals, whereas I think Wolves will probably make it closer than that. But the issue is we saw it on Monday against Manchester United. We saw it a few weeks ago against Chelsea with the caretaker manager. Just as soon as Wolves concede, the heads go. And we saw that against Manchester United. The defensive positioning was absolutely atrocious. And when you're playing a quality team, whether it's Chelsea, Manchester United, City, Arsenal, you're just going to get torn apart. So for Wolves, for me, it would be an awful watch. But I'd be parking 11 men behind the ball and hoping for the best and hoping for maybe a quick counter attack or whatever. We haven't got enough quality to, control the game and attack against you. But, they may well surprise me. But I think it will be a comfortable win for Arsenal tomorrow, unfortunately.
Yeah, when I watched that Manchester United game, one thing I did notice about you guys is you were so vulnerable to counter attacks, to open play attacks. You just literally see Manchester United just cut straight through.
It was 1-1 at half time. I just don't understand why we just didn't, sit back a little bit, absorb a bit of pressure, and then maybe last 5 or 10 minutes. That's when you go for the kill. But the game plan for me, second half, was just completely wrong from Wolves, especially for a team that are desperate for points. I know you're that desperate, but you can't be trying to go all out attacking against Manchester United and playing a high line. It'll just never work.
So, what do you think of the job that Mikel Arteta has done at Arsenal?
I think he's done a really good job. I think with the amount of pressure that was on previous managers, even like Wenger towards the end of his time there, Emery. I think Arteta still does have pressure on him, of course. I think in the world of social media as well, even more so. But I think he's done very, very well for someone who had such limited managerial experience before joining Arsenal. I think he's a man that has got a real pull now, a real authority, and I think all that's missing for him now is that Premier League title, and this is a massive chance this year for him to get it. I don't know what the Arsenal opinion and the feeling would be around the Emirates if he fails to do it this season, but I think he really needs that title. But he's doing a fantastic job to be keeping Arsenal there on a consistent basis. Every year we're going in and people are labelling Arsenal as title contenders.
Yeah, definitely. So what's been your toughest game of the season so far?
Ooh. I mean, like I said, we haven't won a single game, so they've all been tough. I mean, City, first game of the season, we played City at Molineux. We played really well against them to start with. And again, like I mentioned earlier, they got a goal and then just put us to the sword. I think they beat us 4-0 in the end. I think we made life so easy for Manchester United during the game on Monday. We gave Villa a really good game, interestingly enough. At Villa Park, we gave them a really good game just under 2 weeks ago. But in terms of toughest game, Chelsea, we didn't really lay a glove on as well. But there's just so many, just the form all over the pitch. We've been both home and away. We've been awful, really. But I'd probably say Chelsea or City. Neither of those sides really gave us a sniff or any hope to get anything against them, really.
Who's your top goal scorer?
Maybe someone's got 2 in the league. I don't know. Strand Larsen's got 3 in all competitions. He scored in the Carabao Cup right at the start of the season, but he's only scored once in the Premier League, and that was from the penalty spot. But again, other than that, we just got no goal threat whatsoever. We're really, really missing a quality attacker or a quality winger that can, run at a team. And under Nuno, you had Jota on the left, Adama on the right. You pick up the ball and, on a counter-attack, you're laughing. But, yeah, at the moment, just no quality for Wolves, unfortunately.
So, Molineux, you play at Molineux, like we said, the capacity. What is for anyone that hasn't actually been to Molineux, what's it like as a ground? Let everyone know, a feel for it. Obviously, I can imagine it's not that great at the moment, but when it's good, let's what's it like, and what are your sort of the quirky bits, your favourite bits of it?
Yeah, I think it's it's a really good traditional ground. You got your 4 stands. It's very close to the city centre, which not a huge amount of Premier League grounds are anymore. At the moment, it's probably a little bit worse for wear in terms of the condition. The away end's not everybody's favourite. I think people that have been to Molineux will probably agree, because they're all the way across a lower tier, so it's very, very hard for away fans to get the atmosphere going at Molineux. But yeah, a lot of people label it as the worst away ground, because I don't think there's many away pubs and things like that close by either. But as a Wolves fan, obviously I love it. I've been going for as long as I remember, really, and you sort of look past that, don't you? I think this summer, when fans were upset with the owners, we've been seeing tweets and people moaning about flaky paint on the stadium and things like that, and that's just because they're picking at everything they can to get back at the ownership. Yeah. But at the end of the day, a lot of older match-going fans love Molineux. as a neutral fan, because, like I said, traditional ground, nice big four stands. That's what we call the South Bank, is almost like our cop. That's where all the noise and atmosphere tends to come from. But yeah, like you sort of alluded to there, last few years really, I don't know if we've lost a portion of the fans due to what's going on, or just the style and the quality of football, but the atmosphere is a lot flatter than what it used to be at Molineux now, unfortunately.
So how much is a Category A game, and how much is a season ticket?
So my season ticket, I think, cost around £750 approximately, I think. Category A tickets now, depends on where you sit, but if I had to guess, I'm sure it was anywhere up to sort of from 55 up to about 85, £95, I think, something like that. Well, that's off the top of my head, but I'm sure it's in and around that sort of margin.
Good stuff. So let's go on to some predictions for the game. What's your score prediction?
My heart is saying that somehow Wolves will miraculously nick a 1-1 draw or something like that. But if I'm honest, I think my head will say that Arsenal will dominate this game from start to finish, put Wolves to the sword. I think it'll probably finish 3-0 Arsenal, if I'm completely honest.
Yeah, look, I'm really sorry, Dave. I said it on other shows. I've got to be consistent. I said 4-0 to Arsenal.
It could easily be that. I listened to another Wolves podcast earlier, and they were thinking sort of 7, 8, 9, and I was there like, I really hope not. But I think Arsenal will be comfortable.
I don't think it will be that. We're without Saliba and Gabriel, who are a huge influence, and I think I can see him resting maybe Rice, Zubimendi, again, huge influences. Gyökeres isn't really firing. He's just come back from injury. Martinelli, we've got Trossard, who's injured. Saka, I'm sure, will play. And we've got, obviously Eze, Odegaard, I'd imagine, will play, who have, Eze put 3 past Tottenham. So, look, we've got players, we've got quality and depth. And I just think that for us at the other end of the table, if we can't, we need to get whether it's 1-0 or we need the 3 points. Obviously, we've got Man City bearing down our necks, breathing down our necks, 2 points behind as this is filmed. We definitely need to, if we want to go and win the Premier League, these are the games, with all due respect, that we need to be 100% at home. Against bottom of the table opposition, we need to be picking up 3 points. But are you going to the game?
I'm not, unfortunately, no. The Emirates, I don't know if I've had much joy there over the years. I think the first time I went, we nicked a 1-1 draw against you. But I think the last time I actually went to the Emirates, I think you thrashed us. I think it was 5-0 towards the end of the season. Lopetegui. I think, I know. But my last 2 times I've been to the Emirates, we have lost. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going this Saturday. But it's probably for the best anyway.
Yeah, well, look, Dave, you've been an absolute superstar. Do you want to let everyone know where they can follow you and subscribe to your channel? Yeah,
sure. The channel's Talking Wolves, so we're all over socials and obviously on YouTube as well, where I'm sure if Arsenal thrash Wolves, which a lot of people are expecting, you can see my reaction on there on Saturday evening anyway. But I appreciate you having me on, mate.
No, absolute pleasure, and thank you for coming on. You've been absolutely fantastic, and let everyone know plenty of information about Wolves, and that is what this show is all about. Please, guys, check out all of AFTV's other content. If you haven't already, subscribe and give Dave a shout out on his channels. Please follow him and support him. It's a fantastic channel and does a lot for football. So thank you very much, guys, for watching. Really appreciated. This has been Box to Box. I've been Marty. This has been Dave. It is Arsenal versus Wolves, 8 o'clock on Saturday night. Stay tuned. There's a watch along in the studio, and there will be all the fan cams as per usual. So Marty, AFTV, signing out.